The second day for registration of fresh senior high school students benefiting from free SHS saw some of the chaotic scenes that characterized the first day. The Odogono Senior High School here in Accra, where the team set up, for instance, hundreds of parents had gathered outside the school's computer laboratory with their wards, waiting to go through the registration process. Some of them tell Joy News they got to the school as early as 5 a.m. but did not get the chance, accusing officials of favoritism. Maxwell Agwagba, however, reports it wasn't all chaos, as there was order at some other schools he visited.
Confusion here at Odogono Senior High School. Lots of the people here are not excited because of what they describe as preferential treatment. A lot of them say they've been standing at the rear of the queue without getting access to this computer laboratory where they are supposed to get their names into the database of the school here at Odogono Senior High School. A lot of them say the officials here and the staff here usually will bring some teenagers from the rear of the queue and they get them inside ahead of all others to carry out the registration process. They are not really excited about this.
We came here yesterday. They are for 20 years. Some of them, they are coming, they say protocol.
Which staff is it? We have been here since morning. Since morning, around 5 a.m. Yesterday we were here the same thing, and then they told us to go. We've been here since the line is not moving where my daughter is standing, still standing there. And then they will come in, people from the down there will come and tell us stuff. The man coming from the down there came in with the sun. Just now, he has been, that man coming with the green shirt with the sun, just came in and he said, they are finished with that. He said it's staff. Is it right, my brother? Is it right?
Baby man, no be by now, no a scarf, no, I did not make no call. A scarf. Yeah, here for no say to Abanibi. Into free niba, I will question yes to Yandibi. A dear scarf, or you could find the background on a Akufo-Addo free education by you. Now, so the background by Salamu, or being a togo, no being a gun any. In the Ghana for more, or be here and chobi. Sansa a do what time, no, on them from crap or but for no munya or your papa. I don't know, yes, sir. But Minia, what day? You don't like Musa by this time. I don't. Obviously, staff rubber, and no more staff from mother. No one year staff for no. And I ain't any no more staff friend your school. No, I don't know, sir, Bassa.
So you just had some women complaining bitterly about what they describe as the preferential treatment here. They say that they've been here since dawn, but what usually happens is that you get an official or one of the officials here coming in with a child or with a teen and entering with them ahead of everybody else who've been standing here in the long queue. And usually what they say is that they are staff of this school here at Odogono. A lot of them are not really excited about it. One woman, as you rightly heard, said they all voted. There are no Ghanaians here. There are no Togolese here. They are all Ghanaians. And they expect to be treated equally. We're currently here at the Wesley Grammar School. It's day 2 of the registration process. Now, it's all calm here at the Wesley Grammar School with parents going about the registration process for their children. We hear classes would start tomorrow. But the major concern being raised by some of the parents here is that their children will not get opportunity to be in a boarding facility here because the authorities here tell them that they do not have the necessary space to accommodate all of them. Some of them would have to commute from Ashaiman and then Tema.
Okay, my sister had this school and we are coming from Tema. Actually, she chose a boarding school, but when it came, they told us it was she will get the day school, and we can't go and come back. So we want the government to do something about it.
Now, Maxwell Agwagba has also been interacting with some free SHS beneficiaries on what they make of the initiative.
Yeah, I think so, but I think things will be somehow complicated because it's free. Maybe the teachers won't be all that motivated to teach very well. So that's my problem.
That's your problem?
Yeah.
No. I think everything will be going well.
Now, Eugene, we're having a conversation about, what people have been saying on radio. Some political analysts are saying that free SHS would compromise on the quality of education that you get, even though, if you look at the logo of the free senior high school policy, it says equity, access, and then quality. Do you have fears as a beneficiary of the free senior high school, being a first batch?
I don't have any fears. I think to go on well as it went on the previous years. So I think to be normal. I don't have no fears that there'll be a challenge. I don't have any fear that there'll be any challenge. So things to go on well, and we'll be able to go to the senior secondary school and complete.
Wow, you sound very optimistic. Sure, I mean, you've had conversations with, daddy and mommy when you were sitting in the car coming here. You obviously had conversations with them. How excited are they? Are they happy about this policy?
Yeah, they are very happy because it's absolutely free. They will not pay any penny. So the money they put in our education, they used to buy the things we need. And take care of their home. So I think it's helping them. They are very happy.
So what did daddy buy for you for school? You're a day student, you told me. Yeah. What did daddy buy for you?
He said, you buy me a bicycle bar. No, I'm not sure the time you buy it.
Okay, I'm sure perhaps the admission fees is going to use it to buy a bicycle for you. Clara, what?
She said it's cool, it's good, and it's going to help others too because maybe they don't have enough to pay for their awards.
Elsewhere, parents and guardians of some prospective students placed at Maoli Senior High School in the Volta region were shocked when their children were denied boarding status. School authorities indicated the school was allocated about 150 students, well over their capacity. This, the authorities say, has compelled them to use their discretion in allocating the available residential facilities to avoid overburdening the school's limited infrastructure. Fred Kwame Asare visited the school and filed the following report.
The administration block of Maoli SHS was not very busy on Tuesday compared to Monday when the process began. The enrollment process has been smooth here so far due to the fast internet connectivity. Some parents who went through the process smoothly expressed satisfaction at the exercise.
The first process was so slow, but after that it moved fast.
However, the school says the total number of students allocated keeps fluctuating. As at 1 p.m. Tuesday, the total number of students was 650, though the school requested for 500. Kwame Gadoto is the assistant headmaster in charge of academics.
It's fluctuating. The first day it was 601, 601. Second day it went to 603. Fifth day it went to 1,000 something. And then now today, 12 September, it is down to 650 something.
He indicated that authorities would have to use their discretion in allocating boarding and day status to students to avoid overburdening facilities of the school.
We have been given more than a number. They have come. We need to strategize. The system didn't give them the residential status. We are determining the status here. So when you come, depending on where you are coming from, we ask whether you want to be a day student or a boarder. We use our own system to place them, to give them the status.
A parent, Ahovi Michael, got frustrated when his request for boarding status for his son was turned down.
When it came, the headmaster, I don't know, or the teacher, he told me that there is no, the body is full of. Yeah.
So what are you going to do?
I don't know. If you got 7, and then get body, I don't understand. And then those people get 30, 20, 27, they got body.
Some parents praised the government on the successful implementation of the free SHS policy and called for efficient management to ensure citizens benefit immensely from the policy.
It's a good policy, but they should know the system. They should run it efficiently. It shouldn't be something that you should leave it, So they should run it well, so that all of us will be happy.
Fred Kwame Asare's report for Joy News.
Well, President Akufo-Addo has assured the quality of education will not be compromised because of government's free SHS initiative. One of the key promises of his presidential campaign in 2016, the initiative was launched on Tuesday at the West African Senior High School in Adenta, and will see over 400,000 beneficiaries attend senior high school for free. Though the implementation has been fraught with some challenges, President Akufo-Addo said the program will not be derailed.
Leadership is about choices. I have chosen to invest in the future of our youth and our country. We've decided to use the proceeds from our natural resources to help educate the population, to drive our economic transformation, to ensure that no child is denied access to secondary education. We are removing one of the biggest obstacles that currently stand in their way: cost. The cost of providing free secondary school education will be cheaper than the cost of the alternative of an uneducated and unskilled workforce. A government may not be able to make every citizen rich, but with political will and responsible leadership, a government can help create a society of opportunities and empowerment for every citizen. And I know no better way to do so but through access to education. As is with all human endeavors, we will certainly face challenges in the implementation of this policy of free SHS, despite our best preparations and efforts. We may falter, but by the grace of Almighty God, we shall not fall, for we will be ready in all humility to accept inputs and criticisms aimed at improving the policy.
Have been asked about government's ability to sustain financing for the free SHS policy, with costs expected to run into billions of cedis from the initial 400 million cedis once it's extended to cover all SHS students over the next 3 years. But Education Minister Dr. Matthew Poku-Prempeh says government is at the moment current on all of its statutory payments in the sector, an indication of how the Akufo-Addo government intends to approach its obligations under free SHS.
To ensure that those who would not see anything good don't come and criticize us, the President has ensured that as part of the free SHS being fully funded, for the first time in the history of this country, even for those who are paying fees, they go to school before they pay their fees. They don't pay their fees from home. The President has ensured that even before one child gets into school, 20% of the school fees are already there waiting for them. The President has ensured that it's not only the free SHS that he is concerned about. Capitation grant that has been in chronic arrears will be paid up to date. Even for the first term of this academic year is ready. Feeding grant, we became a nation that we were so merciless that even school for the special handicapped, we had arrears. Feeding grants for the handicapped schools are going before the school reopens. Feeding grants for students of northern extraction, that chronic problem that we have had, that has still given us precedence, is going this year before school reopens. Teacher training allowance has not only been restored, it's going before schools reopen.
In another development, the headmaster of the Akufo-Addo Senior High School has been ordered to refund unauthorized fees he collected from first-year students who were placed in the school. The Techiman North District Chief Executive gave the directive after the headmaster admitted asking the students to pay 30 Ghana cedis each. The headmaster, Julian Okum, explained to the DC, Peter Mensah, that the amount was to be used to purchase files and other items. The DC, however, tells journalists a formal complaint has been lodged at the District Education Directorate and warned other recalcitrant head teachers against indulging in acts that would frustrate the initiative.
The only challenge we had was one school, that was Akufo-Addo Senior High. In fact, before getting there, calls were coming and I wondered why people were calling. So in fact, I tried to find out what was happening. It was that the headmaster of Akufo-Addo Senior High School was extorting monies from these students. In fact, initially I was worried because that isn't what the president wants to give to Ghanaians. We mean as consent. So, in fact, I moved in there to confront the headmaster with respect to the allegations people have leveled against him that monies are being extorted from these students who are supposed to benefit from the free senior high school. And in fact, he conceded to the fact that in fact monies have been taken. But the only reason he could give was that the monies were taken in his absence, that he had attended a meeting of Charles in the Volta region. He had, as a district chief executive who is supposed to see for the implementation of this policy, I ordered that these monies taken from students be refunded. So in fact they complied. And I remember when I was there, about some parents approached me that they haven't received their money, and I called the headmaster directly to refund the monies to them. So on getting the facts on the matter and the headmaster conceding to the allegation, I invited the district director of education, and official complaint has been made to him. He has assured me that he will get to the bottom of the matter. I know in any situation that should warrant a punishment, we have forms of punishment and stages of punishment. I have actually given a very stern warning that I don't really want to hear.
Watching Joy News Prime, still ahead in the bulletin. Tuesday's launch of the free SHS coincided with the reopening date for basic schools in the country. We have that story coming your way after the break. Please stay tuned. Now, Tuesday's launch of the free SHS program by the President coincided with the reopening date for basic schools in the country. To make it a day to look forward to, the pupils are usually offered freebies, and today was no exception. Only those activities were somehow overshadowed by the free SHS launch. Nonetheless, Nancy Akufo-Addo was at the primary and kindergarten at the police depot school here in Accra and reports that children were happy to be in school.
This is how the news team was welcomed by the fresh Class 1 pupils of the Police Depot Primary 1 and 2. How old are you?
6 years.
You are 6 years old. How are you feeling right now?
I'm feeling good.
Feeling good. So you left KG2 to Class 1, and next year you'll be going to Class 2. Have you told Mommy thank you?
Yes.
When did you tell her?
Thank you.
How old are you?
5.
5, and you're in Class 1. Are you happy to be here?
Yes.
You're excited?
Yes.
Wait, so when you were coming to school, what did Mommy do for you? Did she buy you a new shoe, new dress? What did she buy for you?
She bought me a new shoe.
What is your favorite rhyme when you were in KG2?
Fox, fox, fox.
Can you say it?
Yes.
Okay, say telling me here.
Fox, fox, fox. Go into the box. No, no, no. Why? Because I am too big.
September 2017.
Pupils 1 teacher, Grace Ofori, tells us how excited she is to have these children in her class.
In fact, handling these children, you will like it because they are new, and whatever you teach them, they love it. You teach with songs, actions, and then they will love you. So, in fact, I like teaching in P1.
The headmistress of the school, who also doubles as a visiting Class 1 teacher, tells us she learns to accommodate some of the things they do.
And when they come initially like this, we take them out and then show them where we should pace. If you want to go to private, where you should go. Else you see someone doing anything anyhow. But when they come first week, second week, that one, if you are not experienced teacher, you think you can handle class 1. If some of them will even tear their books into pieces. When you give pencils, they can break it. One person can sharpen the pencil, it will finish. All these things, we accept them.
One thing that usually accompanies the first day at school is the presence of the parents in the schools with their awards.
I'm very happy to my kids for going to class 1 and God to protect so many things. And I'm happy for the school. So they should go on and learn, teach for the children to learn very well.
To me, Uncle Drew baby and Uncle me pet. Into me person me bano dear, or to me call no pat me. So be a bear dada chino, no so be ni petit ruby. A war me.
Soon it was time for break time, so we had to leave them for them to go for their lunch. We then took a walk to the nursery school, where we really want to call this my first day at school, as these children are in the classroom for the first time in their lives. The pupils teacher tells me that though the job is difficult, she enjoys what she does.
It's very tedious work, but I'm managing. Since they are all my children and grandchildren, I'm managing.
These are fresh students. Yes. What are your expectations for them, even though they are not minding me and everything?
Okay, since they've brought them, I will also prove my skills and then try to manage and let them speak and then do whatever they can do in the classroom to achieve their aims.
Pa, give me. So that's it here at the Police Depot Nursery School, where we are bringing you, the first day these children are setting their foot in the classroom. From me, I am MFA Nancy Jadose, reporting for Joy News.
Now, available statistics suggest Ghana has made a lot of progress in general school enrollment over the period. Over the past decade, however, according to a UNICEF report, the rate of enrollment has slowed down. This means quite a number of children of school-going age are currently out of school. Cost is one among other reasons accounting for the phenomenon. In the following report, Joy News' MFA Ewenam at Tiamwa Early visits Mamobi, a densely populated community right here in the heart of Accra, and reports as 2017-2018 academic calendar for basic schools commences today. Some parents are still in a dilemma over the ability to enroll their wards.
In October 1996, as part of educational reforms, Ghana initiated the Free Compulsory Universal Basic Education Program, FCUBE. The program, among many others, was intended to expand access to good quality basic education, as well as promote efficient teaching and learning. It's been 21 years down the line. Some children are still yet to step in school. I've been finding out why. This is Mamobi. It is one of Accra's famous densely populated slums. There are hundreds of educational facilities here, mostly privately owned. The public schools are few. Today, I am here to meet two parents who are still struggling to enroll their wards in school, though they are of school-going age. Ajia Zainab is a mother of two. 5-year-old Ernest is her first child, followed by 2-year-old Gloria. Patience Aiku is a mother of 4. 15-year-old Grace is her first child, and an 8-month-old baby girl is her 4th child. Ernest is 5 years old. He is currently not in school. His mother, Ajia Zainab, is a single parent. She sells orange. She doesn't remember the last time her husband remitted the family, so she's forgotten about him. She tells me Thoughts of watching her children remain home while their mates go to school for yet another academic year is very troubling for her.
If I had the means, I would enroll them, but I don't know how. If I have to enroll them now, I need to buy their uniform, footwears, and bags. It's a big worry to me. Every child will be in school as school reopens, but these two will continue to sit at home all alone.
Little Ernest dreams to become a celebrated footballer. With much difficulty, I managed a conversation with him in Chi to share his aspirations with me.
What do you want to become in future? Who is Asamoah?
Ajia and her children, like many others here, can best be described as quarters. The obscure nature of the abodes leaves much to be desired. There is little or no room at all for movement and comfort. Patience Aiku has a similar challenge. Unlike Hajia, Patience has 4 children. 15-year-old Grace is her firstborn. Grace is in and out of school. She works to support herself occasionally. 5-year-old Francis is Patience's 3rd born. Francis is also not in school. Patience says she just can't afford.
I don't have any help. Their father abandoned them. I would have to buy some items to enable them be in school, like uniform, books, pay some school fees.
Patience is not happy her children are not in school. She is also unhappy about the community in which she is raising her children.
Life here is difficult. You will work and work, but it never goes well. Always quarrels, and the things you dislike are those that happen here. The children also loiter around causing trouble, and you have to ensure peace all the time. It is very worrying. I would wish to relocate the entire family to Kaswa.
Patience is currently nursing an 8-month-old baby girl. She's not sure about her education in the future. The same applies to Ajia Zainab, who is also unsure if she will be able to enroll her youngest child, Gloria, in school when she's ready. For the United Nations International Children's Emergency Fund, these children are really missing out as long as they stay out of school.
If the child starts school at 4, by age 6, the child should be able to read, she should be able to write, she should be able to interact with the peers, and that also promotes that self-confidence in the child.
Emafa Ewenam Atiamwa Eli. For Joy News, Accra.
Now, later on in the bulletin, we'll be telling you the story of one other young man who's doing some fantastic work in the community here in Accra. And also still ahead, the shooting of a laboratory scientist at the Kolebu Teaching Hospital here in Accra under mysterious circumstances has left his colleagues confounded, especially because the supposed gunman cannot be traced and the origin of the shot cannot be explained.
Kolebu is not a hunting area, let me put it this way. So nobody will be hunting in Kolebu. And there's no route in Korle Bu for anybody to say that he was controlling route here.
But up next, after the break, is Business News. Stay tuned.
Hello, good evening to you. Thanks for joining me on Business. President of the Ghana Chamber of Commerce and Industries, Nana Akufo-Addo, also the first, has charged African Chambers of Commerce to boost the level of intra-regional trade to 50% in the coming years. Currently, the level of trade in Africa ranges between 12 and 20%. President of the Chamber said this at the opening of the 3rd Africa Prosperity Conference, which has brought together various chambers of commerce in Africa to Accra. The conference will have members deliberate on best practices to be adopted ahead of the signing of the Continental Free Trade Agreement by end of 2017. Here's more in this report.
The African Prosperity Conference is for captains of industry across Africa to renew their commitment to ensuring the fast passage of the Continental Free Trade Agreement. Trade Minister Alan Tremantin revealed that Ghana was taking a closer interest in exploring the best trade deals with other African economies to boost intercontinental trade.
For me, we have no choice but to start believing in the fact that this whole enterprise and agenda will work. And if we have no choice and we have to make it work, then it's going to depend on two things. First is our capacity to be able to conclude the negotiations. Everybody who has been involved in trade agreements would understand that starting in the negotiations is important, but the more difficult task is how you conclude it. And it is with extreme pleasure that I find from what the Commissioner is saying that so far the negotiations are going very well.
On his part, President of the Pan-African Chamber of Commerce and Industry, who is also President of the Ghana National Chamber of Commerce and Industry, Nana Dr. Appiagyei Dankwa-Wosu I, hinted of Ghana being able to reach its macroeconomic targets by 2020.
We are hoping that we are advocates, even though various governments are going to sign that agreement on behalf of all of us, and the private sector, of course, is the engine of growth. And for that matter, we are saying that the trade for now is between 12 and 20. The first year, if we put ourselves together well, we are going to increase from 20% to 50%.
Joy Business also engaged the High Commissioners of South Africa and Namibia, who spoke about some best trade practices in various countries which can be replicated in Ghana.
We need to make sure that our countries are able to trade together and work together on development, industrialization, agriculture and agri-processing. And I am sure with a continental free trade area, we will be able to trade better. Our AU heads of state have said we need to increase intra-Africa trade from the low 15% where it is now to a much bigger percentage to ensure that we support one another, we help each other to grow, to industrialize, and as a continent to be able to stand on our own.
African trade as a percentage of world trade is about 2%. That is way too low. Now, the conference like this, what is going to come out of it and the eventual adoption of the free trade area should allow us to increase that trade. And ultimately, if we are able to remove all the trade barriers between our countries and have the infrastructure that will allow us to do that trade, I think if it can go beyond 50%, then we'll have made a great progress.
The two-day conference is aimed at exploring the implications of business-state relations and the importance of the private sector's inputs into the negotiations.
CEO of the Ghana Investment Promotion Center, Yofi Grant, says the newly announced capital requirement for banks would not affect foreign investment, but rather boost investor confidence. He was speaking after the opening of the 3rd Africa Prosperity Conference in Accra.
As I speak, many of the African countries are reforming to do business better, to be attractive investment destinations. But so is Ghana. And I think Ghana, as I've always said, Ghana once was the spearhead of African political liberation. Once again, I think Ghana can step up to the plate and be the spearhead of African economic liberation and empowerment.
But speaking about investment, foreign investment in that regard, you know, the recent developments that has rocked the financial sector with the Bank of Ghana increasing the minimum capital requirement to, you know, in excess of 400 million Ghana cedis. How do you think this is, you know, reshaping the decision of foreign investors?
I think it's for a number of foreign investors that I've spoken to. Well, I mean, this is it's not an uncommon thing to happen. Countries look at their financial sector and see how best they can empower it and strengthen it to be able to finance growth and development in the economy. And so for us, the more powerful the banks are in terms of their total assets and their capital strength, the better it will be to funding some of the big ticket items that are on government's development agenda.
So when all is said and done, we've been talking about interregional trade being in excess of 12%. How best do you think you're expecting this to increase in terms of foreign investments by the end of the year?
Well, the belief is that with the CFTA, the Continental Free Trade Area, we're going to see definitely increased trade amongst African countries. And we expect it to move up from the 12% to somewhere in the region of the late 50s, which would benefit the continent. The problem is a lot of production of goods, particularly, that we see traded on the continent are imported out of the continent. So that is why Ghana seems to be well positioned, and that's why the conference may be happening here, because we have clearly said that we would move away from the export of resources and raw materials.
Meanwhile, as banks grapple with a recapitalization deadline of December 31, 2018, experts are pushing the National Insurance Commission to increase the capital to weed out the huge numbers in the insurance sector. The director of Case Johnson, a leading insurance consultancy in South Africa, Bruce Sard, says it will consolidate the industry and aid penetration. We're speaking ahead of the Bank Assurance Conference slated for the 14th and 15th of September and supported by Joy Business.
Generally speaking, what I have seen is that in a market where the capital requirements are increased, whether for banks or for insurers, it tends to consolidate the industry. So from having, let's call it 100 insurers or 100 banks, you have 10 insurers, 10 banks. What that means is that you have the banking population is more easily reached, because instead of having to go after, instead of having to go after the entire population through 100 banks, you can market to the population through 5 banks or 10 banks or so 10 insurers. And the key thing about that is that a consolidated industry, which is often driven by capitalization, means that you get economies of scale from a marketing point of view, because insurance has a massive marketing problem. It needs to be marketed. Nobody wakes up in the morning and says, I'm going to buy insurance today. No one does that. What people need is they need to be approached by a trusted partner, and that's often a bank. Not always, but often a bank. And yeah, so capital requirements will drive consolidation. Consolidation will mean there's more capital in fewer insurers, in fewer banks, which means they can spend their capital more cost effectively to reach customers with insurance offers.
Another story is local banks may be the hardest hit following the significant jump in the new minimum capital levels. Some of these banks over the years had rejected moves from the shareholders like SNIT and government to bring them together to create a huge financial institution. Joy Business's recent engagement with some managing directors of some local banks have ruled out measures. They are rather looking at raising the entire 400 million Ghana cedis minimum capital rather than go into mergers. So why are these banks refusing to merge? Frank Edu Jr. is the managing director of Cal Bank.
I think it's probably a cultural thing, and over time that people will come to realize that it's just business, and therefore we should be able to put 2-3 banks together. You know, there is a certain psychological resistance and barrier to that notion. But over time, the business of doing business of banking and the financial requirements of doing the business of banking within the framework of the new capital requirements, Basel II, Basel III, risk-adjusted capital, risk mitigation factors, etc. The new IFRS 9 proposals for calculating NPLs, etc., would force banks to look at the issue and decide that, yes, we want to join together to do the business.
Mr. Addo, someone said that we've had these proposals before. Do you think that this time round it's going to happen where banks like you that engage other banks that share your vision, culture, and thinking could join hands now that they're also looking at doing the significant increase in capital requirement?
Listen, if you have a psychological problem and therefore you are not able to breach that barrier, trust me, I think the economics and mechanics of what is going to happen will force you to breach that barrier. And once you breach that barrier, you realize that it's easily possible.
And that's all by way of business tonight. Many thanks for joining us, and do join us again same time tomorrow for more business stories. My name is Emmanuel Apuachi Riafe. Have a good evening.
Well, red flags have been raised over the establishment of the Office of the Special Prosecutor bill currently being considered by Parliament, with the minority questioning whether the office will be truly independent. Minority Leader Haruna Idrisu does not understand why the Special Prosecutor will be expected to act on the authority of the Attorney General instead of being truly independent. He also wants the Special Prosecutor to be more accountable to Parliament instead of the executive arm of government. Haruna Idrisu was speaking at a public consultation forum organized by Parliament's Constitution and Legal Affairs Committee on the bill.
But what is even more important in the long title for our purposes is when you say prosecute these offenses on the authority of the Attorney General. Which Attorney General? Where then is the independence that you promise? Independence from the executive, as I heard the first deputy speaker read from the manifesto of the MPP. There is want of independence here. Probably to improve it, we will say that the appointing authority, the president shall appoint the special prosecutor or a special counsel, as it is in other jurisdictions, with the prior approval of Parliament. And probably even further recommend with 2/3 majority, so that the person is a strong personality who is subject not just to executive nomination, but prior approval of Parliament, not consultation with Parliament or in consultation with Parliament. Then that will be a way of strengthening the bill. That I will do. But we also must strongly recommend that in addition to the remit of the Office of the Special Prosecutor must be recommendations of Parliament based on the Public Accounts Committee report, so that the leakages, misappropriation, embezzlement also can directly be punished by the Special Prosecutor. When I raise the matter of conflict of interest, let me remind us of an interesting development. Should the Attorney General be alleged to be engaged in wrongdoing, who investigates and prosecutes the Attorney General? A superior or an inferior person? That probably would also be an important thing for us to examine.
Now, civil society groups have also been punching holes into the document. Professor H. Kwesi Prempeh of the Center for Democratic Development is questioning why the bill gives the special prosecutor jurisdiction over only corruption issues that involve huge sums of money.
Our main objection in this bill actually centers around subclause 4 of clause 3, functions of the office, subclause 4. And we respectfully strongly object to the inclusion in this bill of this subclause 4. And would advise that it be deleted in its entirety. This is our reason. Our interpretation of subclause 4 is that it purports to draw a distinction between petty corruption and grand corruption, and to confine the mandate of the special prosecutor to cases of grand corruption. That would ordinarily sound uncontroversial and indeed quite laudable. However, when you look at subclause 4, when you read it closely, it is couched in such broad and vague terms that if enacted into law, we believe it would serve only to invite constant and needless litigation over the mandate or jurisdiction of the office. Worse still, the language used in subclause 4, and let me give you a flavor for some of the language, a vast quantity of assets, a substantial portion of the resources of the country, threats to the stability of the country, threat to the substantial development of the country. These are the conditions under the bill under which the jurisdiction of this office could be activated. And we believe that language of this kind is bound to present courts, even courts, invited to interpret and apply them with grave difficulty and uncertainty as to the practical meaning of those terms. Moreover, and more substantively, we think the distinction that the bill attempts to draw between petty corruption and grand corruption proceeds on a rather false assumption that cases of corruption can easily or neatly be separated out into those that are petty and those that are grand. In practice, corruption is not so easy to categorize at the outset. The nature of corruption cases is such that a matter might appear petty on the face of it initially, and yet in the aggregate, it would involve substantial amounts of widespread racketeering.
President Akufo-Addo is soliciting the support of the Ghana Bar Association to help deal with the challenges of corruption, which he says could hinder the country's development if not rooted out. Speaking at the National Conference of the Ghana Bar Association in Sunyani, the president also called on the bar to support the establishment of the Office of the Special Prosecutor in what he describes as an attempt to take the politics out of prosecutions of past and present public officers.
I need your support to ensure the success of these battles. The Office of Special Prosecutor, which is in the offing, and which is an attempt to take the politics out of prosecutions of present and past public officers, i.e. echoes of so-called witch hunting, needs the active support of the bar to realize its goals. I am satisfied of the constitutionality of the creation of the office, even though I am aware that I do not have the last word when it comes to pronouncements on matters constitutional. But it will certainly be remiss of me if I did not satisfy myself on the constitutional aspect before I put it before the Ghanaian people. It will be members of the bar who will provide the personnel for the office. Much of its success will depend on their integrity and genuine commitment to the fight against corruption.
The president also tasked the bar to help fight illegal mining, which is destroying the environment, and ensure speedy prosecutions of people suspected to have engaged in galamsey.
Needs the cooperation of the bench and bar, as the Attorney General stated in her speech this morning, to ensure speedy prosecutions of those allegedly involved in illegal galamsey activities. It is important that deterrents are quickly dispersed to reinforce the abhorrence of the Ghanaian nation about the illegal galamsey activities which threaten our very survival and future.
Chief Justice Akufo has meanwhile advocated the establishment of special courts that will focus on the prosecution of environment-related cases. The establishment of these courts, according to Justice Akufo, will fast-track prosecutions and also augment government's efforts to control illegal mining in the country. She emphasized the need for both the bar and bench to play a collective role to help put an end to activities that degrade the environment.
There is change that supports life, and there is change that equally spells eventual doom. It is all a matter of the quality of the agenda and the effectiveness of measures taken to counter negative ends. Hence, the steps the judiciary has taken to play its part in the national fight against galamsey through the designation of some courts to try persons involved in illegal mining. The scope and number of these courts will soon be expanded to cover also illegal activities that deplete our forests, erode our soil, and destroy the viability of our precious water bodies. In other words, we need to have special courts that are focused on the environment and the sanctity of our natural resources.
The police in the Ashanti region has arrested 10 members of the Small-Scale Miners Association who were protesting earlier today in Kumasi. Police say some were arrested for misconduct, while others were suspected of carrying offensive weapons to the converging grounds. The small-scale miners were protesting to demand government reconsider its decision not to allow them to mine. According to them, they had been rendered jobless after the directive some 7 months ago. But the police had to prevent the angry miners from embarking on their planned demonstration due to miscommunication on both parties. Prince Appiah monitored the exercise and now reports.
The planned demonstration started smoothly with members bussing in to Kumasi from the various destinations across the region. But the plan to hit the streets of Kumasi to register their displeasure could not come off. The police had to prevent the miners because of miscommunication between the two parties. The Ashanti Regional Public Relations Officer of the police, ASP Juliana Obeng, revealed this to the media.
We met with leadership yesterday, the command and the leadership of the small-scale miners, and told them that we had some security challenges which needed emergency attention, and so if they could allow us to postpone the demonstration up until a time when we think that we have that security to police them for the demonstration. Apart from that, I think that we all can agree that the emergence or the convergence for this demonstration was not here. It was supposed to be a stadium and not the this back. That's a total defiance of our order. And so for that reason and other reasons, we decided that, look, we are not going to have this demonstration today. We'll have to postpone.
Now, they are brilliant, smart and enthusiastic about school, but left to their parents alone, they will either miss out on the fundamentals of school or not be in school at all. That is the fate of some school-going age children, even here in Accra. But for one young man who appreciates early childhood education, these children must not be disadvantaged irrespective of the circumstance. 26-year-old graduate of UPSA with diploma in accounting, Emmanuel Tieku, is standing up for these children. Emmanuel, having taken over the administration of his father's 30-year-old private school at Mamobi, is not just looking for those who can afford to enroll in school. He personally, on daily basis, goes out in search of brilliant but needy children, admits and educates them free of charge. MFA Etiamwa Eli has been spending time with Emmanuel and some of his pupils and has more in the following report.
They are very good. They're very good in the academic activity. They are very good. Very active too. Yes, and they come to school every day too.
I want someone to help me and my mother, then I'll go to school and I'll become a doctor.
I have brilliant kids who are home now. Very intelligent kids. And because their mom can't afford to pay their fees, they are home. They are home. Anytime I talk to them, they refer me to their man is not serious about the kids. So they've also left the kids to be in the house. They have a very serious problem. In terms of education, their problem is very serious. Because the most brilliant kids are here. They are very, very intelligent. But they don't have access to education. That's the problem.
Also is 9 years old and in class 1. Bernice is 6 years old and in KG1. It took Emmanuel Tieku's intervention for parents of both children to enroll them in school. Owusu and Bernice are just two out of many other children who are enjoying the benevolence of Emmanuel Tioku and his colleague child educators at the Tiogestin Preparatory School in Mamobi. While on vacation, Victus, Emmanuel and their colleagues still constructively engage these children academically to ensure they catch up with their mates. But at what cost? In preparation for school reopening, Emmanuel visits some parents of his pupils to find out their preparedness to foot their school bills this academic year. His first stop is Owusu's mother's. He tells us how he met Owusu.
I came around some time ago and I saw him playing around. So I asked him whether he attends in his school. He said no. But like in contact with him, I learned he can speak good English. He's very good. So I told his mom about it. And she was like, she doesn't have money. So I asked her to enroll the child in the school for free.
The cost associated with educating these children on benevolence is huge. He sometimes gets into trouble with city authorities over non-payment of tolls.
The AMA dues, I was at the office the other time, they came to lock the place because we were owing much and we don't have money to pay. So it's really bringing me down. But it's like we love to do the work, that's why we are doing it.
Emmanuel's quest to keep these children in school is obviously not sustainable. Despite his fears, Emmanuel can't afford to let the children's academic future be dashed.
Good morning. We have a code.
Akufo-Addo is Bernice's mother. She's a widow with 4 children. She sells sugarcane to make ends meet. It's been 2 years since Emmanuel admitted Bernice in his school free of charge. Bernice's mother, so far, is still not in the position to cater for her daughter's education. The reason Emmanuel meets her today.
Bernice went to school, I covered 2 years. This year, and plans to share my business. I'm at one. Person of Besan to us. Not one. Person of Besan to us, so I call JHS. I call SS. I'm Patricia, who is can now the only to us. I'm so no Radina Medim. I told to say, be a Babuamia. A bedroom or neighbor and a radia buan. Juma Ben, how is it? A tongue I heard you. I should be an answer. I should be an Russia motor. Vivia Koye. I heard no. A yara. Sano near the Bitodia, and the need to a bit Tianaka. Intino Kakra, Minia dear, rather the Buami. And the Seneca say it's been so into a school fees. Wait, Minia, so there. There be a make us say. And a macatcher was saying, young couple, I'm doing it to me. So, one year school fees. Some Michelle say, meet me. Meet you, say Michelle, so who are dean to me. Let me a Cassami ban, may you know, or met the fee. No one makes me fear, and no bebo. I'm Boamin, and to send me some more din. Ain't me Boamin. Ne some more din, I mean, Nintin, I'm semi ban. Maybe I'm a man of better fee.
Bernice, like many other children, has big dreams. But at what cost and to whom?
It's costing me a lot. Because we have some dues outstanding that we have to pay in terms of chairs and tables. We are in short of chairs and tables. So it's costing me a lot.
Emma picks and drops some of these children to and after school. This is an individual's effort in ensuring the future leaders of this country are given the right footing at the right age and at the right time, so they don't lose out. any hope for the future, particularly in communities where the likes of Emmanuel Tioku are not there. Emefa Ewenam Atiamwa Eli for Joy News, Accra.
On behalf of all those needy children, and we say thank you to the Emmanuels out there. Now to a very final story. Doctors at the Korle Bu Teaching Hospital have stabilized a medical laboratory scientist who was shot under mysterious circumstances on Monday. Solomon Kwashi from Onyako in the Volta region was sitting behind his computer at the quality control unit when the bullet from nowhere penetrated the glass window and struck him. What is confounding hospital staff is how the bullet found its way into the office where the medical laboratory scientist was seated when he was shot. Kweku Superpra visited the hospital and reports there are suggestions the incident could have spiritual undertones.
A young man who was working in this office yesterday was shot under very strange circumstances. He was seated at his desk behind his computer and suddenly felt something sharp rush through his shoulder. It turned out to be a bullet. Almost 24 hours after he was shot, neither the hospital management nor police have a clue of who could have fired the gun and from where. Mustafa Salifu is the public relations manager for the Korle Bu Teaching Hospital.
It's premature. One cannot see where this bullet actually comes from. Some people claim they heard a sound, but from what direction nobody could tell. So we'll leave everything for the security agencies to actually look into it properly. It's not only the other security agencies have come to also to get information about it, and I'm sure they'll be collaborating with the police to actually unravel the mystery surrounding this incident.
Does the young man have any kind of a big post, or is he a union leader, union member? Could he be leading some advocacy that could attract this thing to him?
This is a quiet, humble young man. And the area where he works is not an area where you actually have interface with a lot of people, where you could say that through his work he could earn some enemies for himself. According to him, that he doesn't bear grudge with anybody. He's not pick a fight either within the hospital with any of his colleagues or even outside. So he's also wondering who could be behind this and what could be the reason for this. So we'll wait for the police and then the other security agencies to do their work and then tell us exactly who is behind this.
Management of the facility are trying very hard to ensure that the incident does not affect the morale of the workforce. Mustafa explains that the hospital administration have gone round the facility to give the staff this reassurance.
We just want to assure the staff members first and foremost, because they need to feel safe and secure to enable them to deliver care to patients, that management is viewing this seriously and they are working closely with the security agencies to unravel the mystery surrounding it. So people should, it's natural to entertain fears, but they should be assured that the security agencies and the internal security are alert. And then we also want to assure the patients that they shouldn't let this intimidate them.
But this assurance is mere talk to the General Secretary of the Association of Medical Laboratory Scientists.
The members don't feel safe to work, so they are at the meeting and the conference room, and they are agitating that we are not safe. Our security in Korle Bu here is not safe. So that is the situation on the ground.
Okay, so now I want to understand from where the bullet hole is. What is the security people telling you as to where the bullet might have come from, and whether it was a targeted shot fired at him?
The security had come, but this is a disaster. The police came to only look at the place. They did not even look at the patient. They have not even seen the bullet that caused the incident, and they are not saying anything. But to us, when we look at where the incident happened, the type of bullet involved, we think that is a target. We will not take it as a stray bullet.
from the distance and the building behind it, Korle Bu is not a hunting area, let me put it this way. So nobody will be hunting in Korle Bu, and there's no route in Korle Bu for anybody to say that he was controlling route here. So for such a bullet to enter into the office.
As we've been here trying to understand really what happened and where the bullet must have come from within this area, we find some people who just come by and point to the bullet hole through the glass window. And so this gentleman has done exactly that. I watched him do that. So I want to find out from him what actually happened here. Me patro di ni see now nam hana ote den.
Me na hana meti bullet sound. Ana omo mo inside ni na edi minka AP. Nti pekupe na mehun say omo de papa na bullet ne kan no e besia akọ accident word na guy ba ko say ye shutu obi. Nti on na mehun say kita papa no e besia akọ accident word moja e won ho.
Okay, so what he's saying is that he was just walking by and heard the sound of the bullet, and within a few minutes he saw people rushing out of the building, the central lab, with a man who was bleeding from the shoulder. So again, about what is 23 hifasa direction bang now take 23 and now
direction need the obi antimi nche, but so wugina building na se wa uhu bibia bullet no if you decide nearby.
So he cannot really tell where he heard the sound from, but the evidence is there to show that the bullet must have come from this side. Now, yes, I know. Then about him, we am sure about
na obi esuru. Nei na obi esuru because obi anim baby a bullet ni fi ba ya etimi abebo obi a ote office nechi.
All of us desire to come to work, be productive, and leave the office to our families and friends healthy and safe. But to come to work in a hospital and be shot whilst working from a desk is a puzzle that might require very hard thinking to understand.